Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I'm looking down at, I have both of my Melody Beatty meditation books with me today. I haven't read any meditations since November has started. And I also didn't do a video over here on Halloween. So I've got Halloween as well, October 31st. So let me look through the November meditations and Halloween over in the language of letting go and see what it says. Okay. Oh, November 3rd. Okay, November. Here we go. Start in November. November 1st, transformation through grief. Okay, that might be a good one. November 2nd, the grief process. Ooh, a lot about grief. And November 3rd, denial. Oh, okay, so it's talking about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and the stages of grief, and then it's going to go through, anger. It's going through all of the stages of grief at the beginning of November. That could be interesting. Let's go back to October 31st. All of our needs. Self-value. Let's look in Journey to the Heart and see. I'm not really wanting to talk about the stages of grief today. I don't know. Let's go over here to the beginning of November in Journey to the Heart. Open up to your connections. November 2nd. See how much easier life can be. And November 3rd, you haven't lost your place. Oh, I like the title of that one. What is Halloween? What was October 31st? Something important is happening now. Well, maybe we should read that one and then today's meditation. Something important is happening now. October 31st. There's never a time when nothing is happening. Something is always taking place. Growth is occurring. We're evolving, transforming, working things out. Incorporating our last lesson. Preparing for our next. Something is happening. We just don't always see it. And that's how it's meant to be. When we know too much too soon, it's easy to let our heads get in the way. We think we have control, have to force, have to make it happen, have to do something. In a gentle but wise way, the universe takes into account our fears and our natures. It doesn't let us know too much too soon. It doesn't spoil the surprise. It doesn't want us to spoil it either. Open your heart to the universe. Trust that something is always happening, and often it's much different and better than you think. You know, it's interesting when I started reading this meditation, like the first line when it said, there's never a time when nothing is happening. I was thinking back about, so back in the day, when I was listening to like National Public Radio a lot, when I would like drive around and whatever, there was this show on Sundays. I can never remember what the show is called. But I actually, if I looked at my notes, because I have some of the quotes written down, but they would interview these people that had these, like one idea is taking me to another. They would interview these people that had these really, really interesting jobs. And the one that I'm thinking of immediately was that there was this researcher that was researching and trying to find measure the longest amount of silence in the world. And this researcher, so it was like some radio, it was like a 20-minute radio show on National Public Radio in between something else. And I think it was called Storytime.org or something like that. And so this researcher was researching like the longest period of silence in the world. And they would go to like redwood forest, they would go to like, the Amazon, they would go to all these places to try to like measure silence. And it was like this fascinating discussion about like even me sitting right here in complete silence. There's really not silence. Like I can hear a clock ticking downstairs. I mean, there's never really silence. And so if you think about the world that way, there's always something happening, right? And so there's always something, there's like, to find absolutely still silence. Like what we think of silence to other people might sound very, very loud, Like what might be if you live in a city and you're like, oh, it's finally silent. I'm in my apartment. I'm in my house. Like, but you're still hearing cars down the street. Like that might be very, very loud it would be loud to me, but like, cause my neighborhood is very quiet. But what's quiet to me might be very loud to other people. So if you think about that from that point of view, that how we judge silence and how we judge loudness and whatever is that if there is always at any time, there's no period of silence anywhere in the world ever. What that means is that there's always life and action going on at any time. Well, we are very similar to that. We are very similar to that. There's always something going on with us, something growing, evolving. We may not be able to see it just the same way that we may not be able to hear something. That the way that we equate silence, what we hear as silence, Other people might be like, well, I heard this, or the dog's walking downstairs, or I hear a leaf blower across the street. But we hear silence. We are growing at that rate as well. We are evolving. We are growing. As we're sitting here, you know, as I'm like making this video, like 5 days down the road, I might be like, oh, remember that meditation that you read? That meditation that you learned so much from? Like, I might have a reminder of that 5 days down the road. So this meditation right now that seems inconsequential to me might be something that teaches me something 5 days down the road that comes back up again. We're constantly growing and evolving. Most of the lessons that I have learned in my life, I didn't even know at the time that I was learning those lessons. I wasn't even aware of the fact that they were lessons I was learning. I just felt like I was going through some hard stuff. You know, I just felt like I'm going through some really hard stuff right now, and I was complaining a lot, and I don't know if I'm going to make it to the other side, or it was really horrible, and I'm crying, and I'm upset. You know, looking back on a lot of those things, not all of them, but a lot of those things taught me lessons, grew me into the person I was then, but I didn't know that they were lessons in action at that time, you know? I do want to share this, though, since I was talking about that story.org or storytime.org or whatever. My favorite, okay? My favorite was, I listened to, and I know I have it in my notes. It's probably my oldest note in here, actually. Hold on, let me look it up and see if I can find it really quick, because it'll be so funny. It's probably my very, very last one. Yeah, here it is. And this is actually from April 23rd of 2013. And what it was this. I just want to share this because this has profoundly changed my life, where I wouldn't have it in my notes app from 2013. 12 years ago, I wrote this in my notes app. So it was a story about this guy, and he was a piano player, and he really wanted to like chase his dreams of being a piano player and like playing on the streets. And so when he was in undergraduate school, he lived in New York City, and his family was from New York City, and they were like in finance, and he would like, he had this piano like on wheels that he would like take on the street, and he would play for tips and stuff, and he loved it. And he got into graduate school. His parents wanted him to go to graduate school. I think got into like to get his MBA at like Wharton or something like that, some, you know, amazing school. And he instead took the money to buy a box truck and put the piano in it. And his parents at first were like not happy about it, but then they were like, no, we want you to do whatever makes you happy in your life. And so he put this piano in this box truck, you know, like just a square box truck, and he drove it from New York all the way down to like Florida, and then across to like New Orleans and Louisiana. He drove it all through Mexico, Central America. And when they caught up with him on NPR, he was in South America. I can't remember where he was at. But he was playing piano on like the street, and he had like traveled, you know, all over the world with his piano and just lived off the tips that he made. And in the background the entire time he was playing, the story.org is what it's from. In the background he was playing da 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 in a world of pure imagination. He was playing it the whole time that they were telling the story from you know, Willy Wonka. And the person that was interviewing him said something about the card that he had. He had a card on his piano, and the card said, and I love this, you owe it to yourself to do something remarkable with your life. And I think that that's something that we have to always remember. It's not that we owe it to the world. We owe it to ourselves. We have one life. And that's something remarkable could be having a child, or being a parent, or starting a garden, or giving back and doing volunteering service, or writing a book, or writing a poem, and even if you keep those things to yourself, you know, you owe it to yourself to do something remarkable with your life. Ask yourself that question today. What am I going to do with my life? If I could only just do one more thing with my life that would feel truly remarkable to me, no matter how big or how small, what would that one thing be? It's not a bucket list thing. It's not a goal I have to achieve. If at the end of my life I looked back and I said, I did this one remarkable thing, what would that be? Like the quote says, we owe it to ourselves to do something remarkable with our lives. So it's a valuable question to ask. Anyway, let me know what you thought about all that in the comment section below. I love you guys. Happy November, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.